Welcome back to another episode of the Nebulum Podcast. On this podcast, we talk about fulfillment and walking a path of fulfillment. We hope to inspire people to live fulfilled lives and hopefully provide some tips and, food for thought to encourage people to think about different things in their life and walk that path of fulfillment in hopes of creating a more fulfilled and happier world. So, to that end, what's our topic today?
Yes, our topic today is one that came to my mind when we were having a discussion earlier this week. And this topic is around, I guess one way to sum it up is curiosity. The reason for this being, I went into this conversation and I realized later into the conversation that I was trying to actually unconsciously trying to defend my own beliefs. Even though I didn't really have, I couldn't bring up a lot of evidence that supported those beliefs. I just kind of had them. And for that reason, I wondered why did I feel defensive around beliefs that weren't even that strong? And so I wanted to bring in curiosity in that conversation because both of us are just trying to get to quote unquote truth, or what we think is the most true thing. And so these prejudices or these opinions or beliefs that I was trying to defend are ultimately holding me back from learning. And so when we turn towards curiosity, that opens us up to learn something new and makes conversations more enjoyable and creates more friendships and connections. Whereas if we're constantly trying to defend our own beliefs, we not only learn nothing new, we also get deeper into our own hole. And that's what we're seeing in today's political climate and all that, because people are, fed content that's tailored to them, and they're in echo chambers, and we're all in echo chambers, and there's no dialogue happening. And for that reason, people don't connect with each other, and there's more tension and fighting. And fighting doesn't really solve anything. Right. There's no transformation happening in either party there. So curiosity felt like a fitting way to kind of bring that all together. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is a cool topic because it kind of taps into the idea of identity, and I think our beliefs often become our identity. And we don't like when our identity is threatened.
Exactly.
Right? And so we tend to couple our beliefs with who we are. And so if the beliefs are challenged, who we are becomes challenged. And so, but as you said, that prevents you from getting to the actual truth, right? Because if you only want to be right, or you want what you believe to be right, then that will block you from, discovering the truth if your belief is wrong. Because what if it is? And it could be. Like, any belief could be wrong. Or if you don't want to, cast the binary nature of wrong or right, like, there are other ways you can look at things always, right? And so blocking other ways of looking at things while creating a strong identity for yourself also, narrows you into maybe a particular way of thinking, or doesn't allow for you to empathize with certain people, for example, or solve certain problems, maybe because you're not looking at it from the way that could get you the solution that you need, for example. These are, I think, ways in which having rigid beliefs can be a disadvantage to you, right? And so, yeah, curiosity becomes a superpower because then you can update your belief system. I believe that belief systems should be updatable, right? If your beliefs aren't updatable, then I mean that's dogma, right? That is uh if your beliefs aren't updatable, then that is explicitly saying I don't care if this is correct or not. Because, you know,
Because it's not open for correction.
exactly. If it's not open for correction, then you don't actually care if it's correct or not. I guess that's the way I see it. But I mean, there's a perspective of if you believe already that it is correct, then it's hard to say that it could be incorrect, uh, which is an interesting way of thinking. Uh, and I'd have to think more about what that means and how to see things from that perspective too, right? Because you want to be able to. I think we all actually have beliefs that we believe are correct, and we all have identities and principles that we don't think should be updated. So it would be interesting to explore why we have those and how those form, and then how malleable we should be. Because maybe there's a balance to be struck.
There's definitely some sort of balance, and there's definitely some sort of reason we do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't just defend our beliefs for no reason. I think identity structures are really important to our psychology and help us feel like a sense of stability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, we can kind of go into, I don't know, my at least my opinion of the history of identity, I guess, as social or psychological development is identity is important. We form who we are when we're growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We start to kind of form who we are, and that gives us a sense of belonging or a sense of, I am a person in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And that sense of identity is very important, I guess, for helping us like form ideas and opinions and who we are in relation to this person and this person. It helps us function in society
Mm-hmm.
and helps us pick, okay, am I in an in group in this person? I'm an in group with these people, and these people are like not. And so it's just like seems to be part of like human societies that we form identities.
Yeah.
And they have uses.
Yeah.
Then though the question gets into why do we like defend these identities so dearly?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we unconsciously, at least I feel unconsciously, that when I go into a conversation or go into a debate
Mm-hmm.
or go into these things, often unknowingly, I've already kind of decided what I'm going to say and like what my opinion is.
Mm-hmm.
And while that can be helpful when you're trying to beat someone, it's not always helpful when you're trying to learn something.
Right.
So a lot of these movements like fundamentalism, fascism, or Nazism, those things prey on identity to mobilize people together against an opposing identity.
Mm-hmm.
So those have uses,
Mm-hmm.
and they can be very effective in having a group identity to get people to organize. And when we're trying to learn something though, and like expand our horizons, those identities can hinder us. Is that kind of the direction, at least in terms of human development? I know you wanted to go into like the history, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know much about the history, uh, but I do believe that what you're saying has merit in terms of identity and the groups you're a part of, the in-group and the out-group kind of thing. I think that plays a huge role into why we defend our beliefs so much, because we we may tie our sense of belonging itself to the beliefs we have, because those beliefs may be the things that bound you to a particular identity group, right? And so if you abandon these beliefs, there's a whole host of social implications in terms of being outcast from a particular group, right? And so it becomes that much harder to challenge your beliefs. Yeah.
That's a good point. It's almost like our what we believe is tied to our survival.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of our behaviors can be tied back to when we were in tightly woven tribes, when we didn't just depend on money for everything, when we depended on people for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when we depend on people for everything, our connections, our community, our sense of belonging, our sense of identity matters a lot to our survival.
Mm-hmm.
So when our beliefs are threatened, then our identity is threatened. And if our identity is threatened, then we don't know who we are. And if we don't know who we are, then we don't know who we're in relationship with, and we don't know who can we rely on. And that's maybe that's why it's so threatening.
Yeah. I mean, I think about cults, right? That why it's so hard to leave. Not that I have direct experience with trying to leave cults or anything, but it's often hard to leave, I hear, because because of that group dynamic, that survival. You're made to believe that the cult is what you need to survive. The cult is your family. The cult is what's guiding you to the truth, and abandoning that is essentially going out into the wilderness. And it may be severing people you're attached to, severing the ties with people you're attached to, which is a very hard thing to do, right? Uh, and I think even if we're not in that particular circumstance, but if you grow up hearing a certain thing and being, let's say, punished if you go against a thing and rewarded, for believing a thing, that when we grow up with particular things like that ingrained in us, we have the same kind of it feels like as if we're going to leave a cult, we have that same kind of tie to the belief, even if we're not actually severing ties with people. Our body feels like it is, because uh, we feel like there would be huge consequences for abandoning this belief, right? And so I think that's another contributing factor to why we defend certain things we believe. uh, I'm also trying to think about some things I believe and I have an instinct to defend, even though I don't feel like it's tied to any group but it may be. So might need to unpack that a little to see if it's always tied back to group and identity, or if there are other reasons why we may defend our beliefs. So I have to think about that for a second.
Okay, yeah. It makes me think about where our beliefs come from,
Mm-hmm.
because I guess when I'm going back to my own, when we were unpacking that one time, I didn't have so the belief seemed clear on the surface, but when we kind of go back to where is it coming from and what am I relying on as like the foundation for that belief, it kind of got a lot fuzzier.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious why we even form we form such strong beliefs on such fuzzy evidence. Like, we don't really need evidence to form beliefs almost. It's like,
Right.
So that's an interesting thing. And then the other thing, I would like to hear some of your beliefs that aren't tied to identity, because I definitely feel that I have beliefs that aren't tied to identity, that I have beliefs that maybe most people in modern society might not have. Um, so I'm interested to figure out why we defend those, because we fight for what we believe in. We stand up for what we believe in. Many religious movements, what are they called? I don't know. I don't know, what would you call activist movements, stuff like that is all based on beliefs. So what are your thoughts?
I can't think of any specific thing off the top right now that I may believe that isn't tied to identity. But, as I think more about it, I have a feeling it always comes back to identity. I have a feeling, but it may not be identity. It may be a few steps removed from that particular thing. Even if someone may have the identity that they are always right? Then pretty much anything they believe they would want to defend. It doesn't have to be an identity based on that specific belief. It could be a few steps removed from that belief. So if you have an identity that you are, a fair and just person and you care about every person in the world, and you have a particular belief that you believe feeds into that, then you wouldn't want to threaten that belief because it's linked to a different identity of feeling like you're a good person, right? And so I think this is where it comes from. And one of the things I would say is it's worth it to, if a belief is challenged, it's worth it to at least track why you feel strongly about the belief, right? What identity of mine is this, reinforcing? Why do I feel threatened by the challenging of this belief? Because that would, one, help you to understand yourself better, which is necessary for the path of fulfillment in general. And two, it would help you examine, you know, firstly, your values, right? Give you a chance to update your values if necessary, if you so desire, but you can't update it without seeing it. So seeing it is the first step. Uh, and two, it will give you a chance to get curious, right? Get more curious about the inner workings of your own belief system and what is foundational to your beliefs. What beliefs do many of the other beliefs on the hierarchy stem back to? And then get curious about if all those links are actually necessary to my core values, or if, you know, they felt like they were necessary, but when actually examined, they don't hold up that strongly, which happens, right? And so I think being curious about examining those can help you, prune the branches a bit, uh, and really get back to your core values, and which can open you up to new perspectives. And I think new perspectives can be a superpower because they can give you many angles through which to approach problems and solutions, and many paths to the same destination to walk. It can make you more creative. New perspectives give you more avenues, which I believe contributes to creativity, which I believe contributes to fulfillment, right? So this is part of the value, I think, of taking a real examination of the things you feel like you need to defend.
That's a good point. Yeah. New perspectives, of course, super important. And taking stock of all this stuff can help you to find those new perspectives and find your creativity and find all that different stuff that's important for living a fulfilled life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've kind of gone through identity. We've kind of seen how identity is tied up with beliefs, and so how they're kind of not separable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then we should talk about identity as identity is such a strong part of being human. So even in our last podcast about we did talk about something where you mentioned creating an identity for yourself was really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So in this episode, we're kind of talking about how identity can hold us back.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess identity is almost a double-edged thing that you can use for your own benefit, or it can be to your own detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, as with anything powerful, right? It can do damage and it can do wonderful things. I think as it relates to beliefs, I don't. So right, we're kind of bashing identity in this. We're not really, because identity can be hugely beneficial. Identity can define your principles. It can shape your decision making so that you don't need to fully evaluate every single thing every single time you need to make a decision, because that would be decision fatigue, right? And so identity can give you a guardrails for the path you're walking, can give you a north star, it can do these things which are very beneficial for, I think, fulfillment. And so it's not a bad thing. I think what needs to happen, or what one model that I believe is advantageous, is to create a hierarchy of beliefs. Decide what your core values are, right? And those should be the beliefs that are actually the most examined and the most vetted, right? Those are the beliefs that you hold to the fire, you hold in the cold, you put it through all the processes which justify its core nature. And it's not that those can never be updated, but because they've gone through such vetting, let's say, they're going to be the hardest to be updated, right? And so the hierarchy of beliefs can be, the core ones are hardest to update, which is the case anyway. And the leaf nodes, let's say, might be the easiest to update, right? But I believe we should shape that hierarchy intentionally and decide which ones justify the hardness to be updated. And I think that can be a good balance between having a strong identity and not making it so that you are maximally rigid in your beliefs.
Yeah, you're saying have an identity, that's super important. Have one that will last under your own scrutiny. Be aware of your own identity. And scrutinize your own beliefs to make sure they really are what you want to believe. So consciously choose your identity. Consciously update your identity if it needs to be updated. And don't use it. If we're conscious of it, then it's much harder for it to hold us back. And instead, it enhances our life. So being conscious about identity, even though it's such a subconscious process, can be super powerful, is what you're saying.
Yes. And one important piece of that, which I'm saying, is don't be afraid of scrutiny, right? Don't be afraid to hold your beliefs up to the fire. Is that the expression? I don't know. Anyway, don't be afraid to put your beliefs under pressure. I think a lot of us are afraid to do that because maybe the beliefs are fragile.
And that's why we defend them. Because we're afraid that they might break.
Right. And so we don't want to break our identity. But if you are intentional about it, you can solidify that you are comfortable with this identity. And so it's okay if it becomes threatened because you believe it's on strong foundation. And if it weren't on strong foundation, shit, maybe it should be updated. Or maybe you just need to strengthen the foundation, right? Both can happen. Either strengthen the foundation or update that shit, you know, which would also be strengthening the foundation, I believe, because it's going under an iterative process of, maybe this isn't adding up. Let's do the math here, or let's, tweak something here. Let's hammer in a nail here and see what I believe that is a little fragile right now, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a very easy thing to say. It's a very hard thing to do.
Yes.
Especially because our identities are actually they're not easy to like visualize and easily just see, because they're meant to be subconscious. They're meant to not be tampered with.
Yeah.
So this task is not an easy one, and it definitely takes time.
Yeah.
But simply being aware of what we're talking about, I think, can help me, you, other people to recognize when our beliefs might be threatened and recognize when we might need to be open to updating them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a process that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
However, the strength of our identities can often dictate the strength of our actions, the quality of our meaning and purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it can really keep us going through really difficult times.
Yeah.
You mentioned Viktor Frankl's book. I feel like that comes to mind when I think about identity, because our identity can really carry us through difficult times.
Absolutely.
And it can give meaning to a lot of our activities.
Absolutely.
So having it be pliable and updatable is actually the signs of a strong identity.
Yeah.
Not feeling the need to defend and being angry and defensive around it is kind of the sign of a fragile identity.
Mm-hmm.
And the fragile identity is going to hold us back because it's not updatable. And it prevents us from seeing new perspectives or different perspectives. And can even prevent empathy and such things like that.
I'm trying to think if there can be a case in which one does defend an identity strongly or even gets angry, but the identity isn't fragile. Maybe, right? Maybe the identity isn't fragile and it's been scrutinized and you feel it's just and you feel it stands up to any, criticism or fire or whatever, but you still feel upset when someone challenges it. Perhaps that anger may be linked to a different identity. Maybe it's the identity of needing other people to like you, or needing other people to think you are right, or things like that. So if you do notice that behavior, I don't want to say it's necessarily linked to the identity being fragile. Maybe it's linked to some other insecurity.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, my mind just went there because I was like, I didn't want to say that it's necessarily the case that the belief is fragile if you're defending it, right? So that's why I wanted to kind of explore, maybe it's a different reason that you might be defending the belief. Maybe you feel like something else is threatened. It could be a different identity, like being right, or it could be just some other insecurity, right?
Yeah. I mean, it can be a wound, like, if I'm not right, then I'm not valuable, or like,
yes,
I'm not loved, or something like that.
Yes. Or maybe you feel like damage is going to be done if you don't defend this thing, right? So, while defending a belief strongly and feeling threatened by it can be, can indicate that the identity may need to be examined, I think just starting from examining why you feel like it should be defended so strongly can
Sure.
reveal a whole lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're saying that you shouldn't stand up for what you believe in.
Right.
Of course, we should all stand up for what we believe in,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also saying to make sure you truly believe in what you believe in.
Yeah.
And it's not just some unconscious thing running your life.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, because there are many causes that I want to have a strong identity because I feel like it will help me to better stand up for what I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's not the case for every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm trying to defend something because I feel insecure. I'm defending an insecurity.
Yeah.
So those are kind of two different types of ways that this can play out.
Yeah. And a good indicator is if you can't come up with a good argument, right? If you believe something so strongly, but you can't really say why, then I think that belief either needs to be strengthened or adjusted.
Yeah, definitely. Because at least for me, sometimes I do feel like what I believe, I do believe what I believe in. However, I may need to go back and do some more research.
Yeah. And yeah, just to tie this all up into how this relates to fulfillment is one, having a stronger vetted identity will make you less fragile as you go through your path. It will help you drown out a lot of the noise of people attacking the path that you're walking or society not valuing it or these kinds of things. If you have a strong vetted belief system that this is my path, these are the things that I'm standing for, this is my mission, this is my vision, this is my lane, then you're more likely to walk it because I guess the gears that are churning you along that path are well oiled, let's say.
That's a cool analogy. Yeah, I think identity, how this contributes to fulfillment for me is that I feel like identity really contributes to our meaning, purpose, and our likelihood of achieving our goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just feel like having this identity, which is pliable enough to be updated, but also strong enough to stand up for itself,
Mm-hmm.
is really powerful in giving meaning to all of our activities because now our activities are not just a random jumble of things. They're all connected through our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And when things get tough, when you struggle, your identity is kind of what can pull you through that.
Yeah.
So that's how it can be super powerful. The other thing, though, I wanted to mention on this topic of identity is often in Buddhist traditions or Zen, whatever, I often feel like the goal is to destroy the identity.
Mm.
So I think that's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what they're really trying to get at is to not be attached to one's identity and to hold it lightly.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you reject all identities. That might not be your path.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more about reducing the clinging and increasing the pliability and the ability to move like the Tao, move with water. And identities can hold us back, or they can improve how we flow with it. So, yeah, just wanted to mention that because I feel like that's been an important part of my journey. Thinking about
Yeah, I think that's maybe we should dive into that at some point more. But yeah, I think that adaptability, that ability to move with the flow can just help you resonate more, right? It can help you just like slide into the path in a sense, rather than rigidly trying to cling to different things. It's you'll find the natural stream to go with. But yeah, we can explore that more at some point. And the other thing related to fulfillment is the curiosity that you mentioned, right? I think curiosity, having curiosity about different beliefs, different perspectives, different ways of doing things, I think that's always going to be a huge superpower, because it will make you more creative in coming up with ideas for anything you're trying to do, right? And it will, you can hold you can hold two different beliefs at the same time. You can draw on one belief for some things and draw on another belief for other things, even if those seem to oppose, right? Because I think life is very fluid. I do want to talk about that at another point too, the ability to hold two opposing beliefs at the same time. I think that's an interesting path to go down. But just for this podcast, I'd say, in this episode, I'd say the curiosity of it all, I think, helps you to be creative, come up with more solutions, and that just helps you walk your fulfilled path or it helps you find the fulfilled path, right? Because you just come up with ways of walking it.
Yeah, find and walk. Because
Yeah.
curiosity is kind of what we talked about last time too. It's enhancing our ability to quote unquote extract value
Yes.
from everything.
Yes.
If we're not curious about something, then we can't learn about it.
Right. Right.
And so this learning will enhance everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are times to have a strong identity and stand up for you, what you believe in.
Yeah.
But even then, like often when debating someone, when you think you should be butting heads, that curiosity can get the other party to also be curious.
Absolutely.
And that can be like the deciding factor of the transformation of two parties and the connection.
Absolutely.
So curiosity, even though we actually spent most of this episode talking about identity,
Mm-hmm.
curiosity was how we started it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there isn't like, maybe we didn't have as much to say about curiosity because we just think it's so good. I don't know.
There's a lot to say about it. Maybe we should do another episode on where we talk about mainly curiosity. And
Yeah, I think we should.
deeper into that.
I think this was like the introduction to that,
Sure.
honestly.
Yeah.
But curiosity is such a superpower.
Yeah.
Because of our ability to learn from so many different things and extract value
Yeah.
and be able to integrate it in.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say, when you were kind of doing the analogy of people debating or something, one thing I always say is, if you don't understand why someone thinks or does something, then you don't understand something, right? And so there is a gap in the scope of your view of the whole board, right? So yeah, if you're just like, I don't understand, then yeah, you don't understand. So seeking to understand is going to be an advantage to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with that, I think we need to do another episode on curiosity for sure,
Mm-hmm.
going in more in depth, but I feel pretty whole and complete for this one.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, if you're still here listening, then you are the GOAT.
Yeah, the goat.
Thank you. I hope you found some value in this. And as you go about your day and week and month and year and life, we want to pose a couple questions for you to ponder. My question is, or my prompt is, what is a belief that you have felt threatened by someone challenging that belief? And what are other perspectives that you may consider? Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I have something similar. It's try to remember the last time you felt like your identity was being threatened and like how you felt in your body. Often we might not notice intellectually, but our body can send a signal of threat or anger to kind of defend, and that's often how we can recognize that, oh, I'm trying to defend my beliefs right now.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe recall or just be aware for next time that that's a signal.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, can I do one more?
Of course.
Take one of your core values. May have to first define what your core values are, but take one of your core values and do an exercise of holding it to the fire. Just vet it, strengthen it, and do all that if you can. That'll be a cool exercise, I think.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Cool.
Take care.